As of right now, mermaids are believed to be works of fiction, but with over 90% of the ocean still unexplored, there's those that put forward the idea that they could exist in small regions. For hundreds of years, sailors have reported encountering ugly oceanic creatures. They describe them as looking human-like, but with the bottom half matching that of a fish. Stories were soon shared and many believed that these underwater inhabitants were genuine. Depending on who you talk to, some claim that they were good and would help humans in times of need, while others said they kept their distance and in some cases were actually evil. As mentioned though, today the scientific world has said there's no proof of these underwater creatures, but that hasn't stopped people coming forward with their own encounters. The most recent one is these photographs that have been making the rounds on social media. They were posted to a cryptid group. For those unaware, cryptids are labelled as creatures that are not recognised in the scientific world. For example, the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. The photographs do appear to show what looks like a mermaid. Various photos were taken before it jumped into the water and swam off. One of the issues with these reports though is that it's hard to track down a source. Some claim the photographs were taken in the Amazon rainforest, while others said they were captured somewhere in the Philippines. As of right now, not much information can be gathered about the photographs. As skeptics have pointed out though, when it comes to mermaid photos and videos, they can easily be faked. Not everyone is of this opinion though. Amateur researchers have claimed that early humans could have adapted to an underwater lifestyle. This has become known as the Aquatic Ape Theory, and this is the idea that humans ventured into the oceans millions of years ago. Some theorists have put forward the idea that it's one of the reasons why we're so different from other species of apes. They claim that bipedalism was achieved by venturing into the water millions of years ago. What's interesting is that some species of monkeys show this trait while crossing shallow rivers. It allows them to keep their head above the water and also look out for predators. Humans have hairless skin when compared to other apes. We have it on our head to protect us from the sun. Meanwhile, primates such as baboons and other monkeys which live on the savannah have neither lost their hair nor developed an upright posture. This is why some people have put forward this theory. Where did we learn this and why are we so alike, but at the same time so different from these other apes? Our brains greatly expanded at one point, and it's thought this was promoted by the protein-rich fish diet. We have a hooded nose that helps prevent water from entering the nostrils. Although these are interesting points, scientists have said it doesn't prove that mermaids once existed, and that people back then were most likely misidentifying common oceanic life. For example, manatees under certain light can take on a humanoid form. All throughout history, there appears to be a number of strange and unexplainable phenomena centered around religious gatherings and events. Many that have studied these have found them to be impossible to explain even in the modern day. Additionally, many of these strange and mysterious religious events seem to point to the idea that perhaps our world is far stranger than we ever realized before. Over the years, many people have come forward and said that they've had a divine encounter. Whether this was an interaction with a loved one or even Jesus himself, many people believe it can happen. Those who have made these claims have said that it's changed the world for the better. Scientists tell us these visions are usually caused by dreams. The brain is very complex and we still can't answer how exactly it works, but visions of gods are believed to be just thoughts. Recently, Padre Pio has caused a lot of controversy among believers of the Catholic faith. He's come forward in recent years and said that Christ has made contact with him, and not only that, but bad things are going to happen. He claimed that he was spoken to directly by Jesus, who told them that the end of the world was near, and that it would be brought about by natural disasters, and spurred by God due to humanity's destruction of the planet. Padre Pio claimed that Jesus told him that humanity has abandoned the right path, and taken those which could only reach a destination of violence and catastrophe. He said the following: When the world was entrusted to man, it was a garden. Man has turned it into an atmosphere full of poisons. Now nothing serves to purify the house of man. A deep work is necessary, which can only come from heaven. Many who have read into this have said he seems to be taking a dig at how the modern world has turned out, suggesting that humans have damaged our planet and things need to be done to correct this. Jesus allegedly told him he's no longer able to extend divine advice to people of the world, and instead they must face whatever comes next. The priest claimed that Jesus said the following to him: "Prepare to live 3 days in total darkness. These 3 days are very close, and in these days they will remain as dead without eating or drinking. Then the light will return, but many will be the men who will not see it anymore. Many people will escape scared. It will run without a goal. They will say there is salvation to the east and people will run to the east, but it will fall on a cliff. They say that to the west there is salvation and people will run to the west, but they will fall into a furnace. The earth will tremble and the panic will be great. The earth is sick. The earthquake will be like a snake. They will feel it crawling everywhere, and many stones will fall and many men will perish. You are like ants, because the time will come when men will take their eyes out for a crumb of bread. Businesses will be looted. Warehouses will be taken in assault and destroyed. Poor will be the one who in the dark days will be left without a candle, without a jug of water and without the necessary for 3 months. However, others disagree with this, with one person saying the following: "This is typical religious fear-mongering. If you don't do this, then this will happen. It's blackmail at a global scale. I have no problem with people believing in religion, but when they say that bad things will happen if you don't believe in it, I get annoyed." Although these types of statements cause some to disagree, there are others that believe that this does happen. Another person had this to say: "I believe that Christ does show himself to some people. He does this mostly to offer advice and wisdom. When I'm feeling down, I can feel his presence strongly, and this makes me feel much better. It's great knowing there is someone there for you." Interestingly, many people have claimed that Jesus statues have performed miracles. This has caused many to travel vast distances in order to watch these once-in-a-lifetime miracles. In 2012, this statue of Jesus started to make the news, and this was because, according to some, it was performing a miracle. People close to the statue at the time noticed that drips of water was coming from its feet, something that many believed is a sign that Jesus himself is inside the statue, or that he's in the room. Word soon spread of the miracle and many travelled to this location to see it for themselves. This wasn't a hoax and there was in fact water dripping from the toes of the statue. The church, which is located in western Mumbai, was the location to be if you wanted to witness this incredible act. Interestingly, because you could see the water drip down, some thought it'd be a great idea to drink the water, perhaps thinking if they ingested the water it would heal them, or even give them some kind of power. This soon started a trend where many people started to drink from the statue. This soon caught the attention of a mythbuster who was interested in the case. He was actually challenged to check out the statue to see if he could see anything that seemed out of the ordinary. When he arrived, he could see that small water droplets appeared to be coming out of the feet of the statue. He then decided it would be best to bring in someone else to help him take a look at the statue. His friend was an engineer and offered his services to try and get to the bottom of this mystery. One of the first things that stood out to the engineer was the fact that the statue was pressed up against a wall, and this suggested there could have been something else at play. After looking around the area, he was then able to find out there was a pipe that was causing the dripping. The pipe was located just behind the statue, and due to it leaking, it had caused moisture to build up in the wall. This in turn dripped down the statue onto Jesus' toes. Interestingly, the next discovery wouldn't make believers very happy, as it was found the pipe that was causing the drips was actually an overflow pipe from a nearby toilet. So essentially what the people were drinking was drainage water. The alleged miracle turned out to be a bit of bad plumbing. However, even after this investigation, there were those that weren't happy with the discovery and didn't want to believe what the mythbuster and engineer had found. They did have supporters though, as some Catholics came forward and said this was a case of mistaken identity, but hardcore believers did follow the man with sticks and wanted him to retract what he had found. The case then took a strange turn when the man started to receive phone calls, saying if he didn't take back what he had found, bad things would happen. He found this strange coming from people that worshipped a higher power and would pray that we would get on with each other. Regardless, the threats continued, and the mythbuster eventually went to Finland to escape the angry crowds. Interestingly, when some people went to the location to see the statue, it's reported that it's no longer dripping water, and the whole story seems to have calmed down. This isn't the only reported case. There seems to be many locations across the world where this type of thing has happened. Going back a few years ago, a statue of the Virgin Mary in Argentina began to gain attention, and this was for allegedly performing a miracle. It was reported that the statue started to cry. As if that wasn't strange enough, the family who owned the statue said the Virgin Mary was crying blood. As you can imagine, this immediately attracted interest from numerous visitors, and the church soon saw a large influx of people wanting to see the statue. One local priest came forward and said that the Catholic Church will have to fully investigate the tiny statue before it can be officially declared a genuine miracle. Going on to say the following: the first thing the church will do is a scientific analysis to see if there is a natural explanation. Only then the possibility of a supernatural phenomenon is considered. As of today, scientists don't believe the claims that people are being visited by Jesus, and suggest that the majority of these stories are either made up, or that it's just fear-mongering. The sun is responsible for keeping our planet alive. Without it, we wouldn't be able to survive. It holds the title for being the largest celestial body in our solar system. Scientists have said that it contains more than 99% of the total mass of the solar system, with the largest planet Jupiter containing just 0.2%. This giant is responsible for holding the solar system together. If the sun wasn't there, planets and debris wouldn't stay on their path. If we didn't have the sun's massive amount of energy, life would no longer exist. Scientists have said the sun is around 110 times the diameter of Earth. This means that 1 million Earths could fit inside the sun. Although the sun is an incredible force, researchers have said there's billions of them throughout the Milky Way galaxy alone. Developed as part of the European Space Agency and NASA's HELIOVIEWER project, the Solar Heliospheric Observatory allows anyone to view its entire library. Over the years, it's provided some incredible photographs of our sun. However, in recent times, some have noticed some strange anomalies. The most recent sighting is said to be a large unidentified flying object. We can see what appears to be a large object that looks similar in appearance to an angel. As you can imagine, many theories have been put forward to try and explain what this is. Some have suggested it's a camera anomaly, while others believe it could be alien in nature. Theorists have also said that an intelligent race could also be using our sun as some type of portal. What's strange about these discoveries is that every so often this angel-like object can be seen close to our sun. It's caused some to put forward the idea this isn't an editing error, but rather something mysterious. One individual said the following about the anomalies seen around our sun. I've been watching the Soho cameras for years, and I've seen some strange things. This most recent photo though is one of the best to have come from the Soho, and I think it could be the real deal. For years now, these cameras have been capturing these angel-like crafts, and no one seems to know what they are. For the past 5 years they keep reappearing at our sun and no one knows why. Others, however, are not so sure. with one person saying the following: "If this was a real craft, it would be absolutely massive. No object could be that close to the sun due to the heat it gives off." So what are these objects that people are seeing? NASA has provided an official explanation on their Soho page. They said the following: "Ever since launch, there's been a number of people who's claimed to have seen flying saucers and other objects in Soho images. Although some of these supposed pictures of UFOs can seem quite intriguing, they've always turned out to have quite an ordinary cause when examined by experienced Soho scientists. In recent days, we've been receiving so many questions and claims that we'd like to set the record straight. We've never seen anything that even suggests there's UFOs out there. In the past, we've been accused of covering up UFO evidence when we present our explanations, and of refusing to comment or climbing up when we give up on somebody who won't accept our explanations. While we don't expect to convince everybody, we hope that this page and links can provide some information for the curious who want to investigate the claims on their own. Most commonly, UFO claims are due to natural flaws or artifacts in our publicly available data. Some of the things that people are seeing are planets, cosmic rays, software glitches, and debris. Although many believe this explanation given by the space agency, there's some that have said this doesn't make any sense, and have even pointed to astronaut testimonies. Going back in 1984, cosmonauts aboard the Soviet space station Soyuz 7 experienced something they couldn't explain. The crew described the experience as starting off with a blinding light. They looked out the portholes to get a better understanding of what was going on. Being in space, this was worrying to them as they had no idea what it could have been. Shortly after this, they said the space station was surrounded by 7 giant angels, further saying that each of these beings were as big as a 747. The cosmonauts said the beings stayed outside for around 10 minutes before vanishing. As you can imagine, they tried to discuss the possibilities for what they had just encountered. However, none of them could come to a logical answer. They decided that their minds were playing tricks on them. However, this argument has its flaws, as it would be very unlikely all the cosmonauts' minds would be playing the same tricks on them. And not only this, but they would all see the same hallucination. Regardless, the event was soon put to the back of their minds. The team on board were then joined by 3 more cosmonauts, and once again the station was surrounded by a bright glow. For some unknown reason, these massive angelic beings had returned to the space station, and all of the cosmonauts on board witnessed the entities. This story didn't get much coverage, and the Soviet government were not impressed by their story, and told them not to tell anyone about what they'd seen. To this day, the experience was blamed on a gas leak, which caused them all to hallucinate. Again though, people argue whether every cosmonaut would have hallucinated the same thing. So is it just a coincidence that the anomalies being seen in these photographs are angel in shape? Some have made the connection with the 2 events, and suggested that these are what the cosmonauts were seeing. So what would happen if aliens do make contact with us, or happen to land on our planet? Well, according to the late Stephen Hawking, it wouldn't end well. In fact, the late scientist said on many occasions that humans should be careful about contacting aliens, and that it may not end well for us. Dr. Stephen Hawking claimed that alien contact would most likely occur within the next century, and further explained that if we encountered an alien civilization, the meeting would be similar to that of Christopher Columbus first encountering Native Americans. He further goes on to warn us about the potential disaster of trusting an alien species, and explains not only should we remain vigilant, but that an advanced race may have other motives that may be unpredictable on the short-term scale, given their technological development and superior intellect, claiming further that any intelligent alien species could never be fully trusted. This is an interesting prediction and may be the case over this next century, as developments in spacefaring technologies are being worked on and made, along with the fact that new reports of alien technologies keep surfacing. The Disclosure Project has already been responsible for the disclosure of a massive amount of government documents tied to alien investigations, and further findings have been made, including the recovery of a broken piece of alien spacecraft that was recovered by Linda Moulton Howe, which has caught the attention of both NASA and the Department of Defense. This caused Dr. Hawking to suggest we need to invest in technology to take us to the stars. Dr. Stephen Hawking most notably refers to us as planetary colonizers, and makes the overall suggestion that not only will Earth be our home, but many other celestial bodies in the solar system may find themselves colonized equally as well. This appears to be an accurate prediction, as the advancements made by private research company SpaceX has more than propelled a modern space race in the pursuit of planetary colonization. In fact, many estimates for project deadlines put first colonies on Mars to occur in 2030, which is merely within the next 10 years. Not only this, but NASA has begun the process and paperwork as well as research necessary for long-term living in spacefaring ships, with efforts being made to replicate the famous Von Braun research station, along with the robotics and agricultural developments necessary to create a fully sustainable life support. On top of these developments that have already seen space testing and other viable research options, including partnerships at the Biosphere 2 research laboratories, NASA has already begun the processes and received funding for the development of asteroid mining, relative to the formation and creation of spacefaring ships, made from asteroids floating in the asteroid belt. This means that NASA will begin launching rockets to land on asteroids that contain precious metals, and use those metals as a means to develop a larger ship made from the asteroid, allowing for the formation of advanced research stations, as well as pit stops for spacefaring teams. Given the massive amount of success via SpaceX, Boeing has also decided to throw their hat in the race to colonize the red Martian surface, and has already begun the development process for creating their own rockets. So what do you guys make of these mysterious anomalies, and what do you think they are? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.